You're watching Las Vegas One, your 24-hour news source.
This week on In Business Las Vegas, the gusto for green building proves too costly for Nevada. We'll tell you why lawmakers are giving the red light to going green. Plus, the NBA in Las Vegas, no slam dunk for one gaming executive. We'll tell you why. And the abuses of eminent domain come to the silver screen in Business Las Vegas. Up next.
This is In Business Las Vegas with your host, Jeff Gillen.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you. Welcome to this edition of In Business Las Vegas, your source for the top business news of the week. From the resources of the Las Vegas Sun, Channel 8 Eyewitness News, and In Business Las Vegas. Right now, let's take a look at our top story. Nevada faces an $85 million budget shortfall during the next 2 years. That's the word this week from the Economic Forum, the annual forecast of how the state will fare. The forum attributes lower than expected revenue to a drop in sales and property taxes. The Associated Press says the about-face on incentives for environmentally friendly development can be traced to lax standards imposed by the Nevada Tax Commission. Lawmakers voted this week to repeal incentives passed last session to encourage green building. The program cut property taxes by 50% over 10 years for projects meeting green standards. The incentives proved so popular the program could have cost the state some $900 million over the next 10 years. Governor Gibbons is threatening to veto the repeal despite bipartisan support. Nevada Power says it is a leader in renewable energy production, but a local conservation group says the utility is doing only the minimum required by law. This week on Face to Face with John Ralston, Nevada Power defended its effort. State law requires it to provide no less than 20% of its energy from renewable sources by the year 2015.
The El Dorado Valley solar plant near Boulder City is going to come online hopefully this month. That's 64 megawatts. We're buying that power. The Nellis Air Force Base last week broke ground with us as a partner for 15 more megawatts of solar.
But we're talking about 79 new megawatts of solar energy compared to 1,500 new megawatts of coal.
Profits for Nevada Power and its parent company surged in the first quarter. Sierra Pacific Resources reports net income of $15.6 million. That's up $1.2 million from a year ago. Its Southern Nevada holding, Nevada Power, reports $4.6 million profit. That's in the first quarter, up from a loss of more than $3 million in 2006. Executives say the profit came from customers and the settlement of a 2001 rate case. Meanwhile, Nevada Power is waiting for the Public Utilities Commission to determine whether it can raise rates beginning June 1st. The company is asking for about a 14% hike for residential customers. Nevada Mining Company set a record in 2006. The State Division of Minerals reports Nevada companies mined more than $5 billion worth of minerals last year. That is up 38% from 2006. Gold mining generated the most money, even though production was actually down from 2005. Nevada also saw increases in the value of industrial minerals, copper, and silver. Lawyers who want to advertise will have to get permission from the state bar. Under new rules released this week by the state Supreme Court, attorneys have 15 days from the time their ad appears to get approval from the state bar. Some attorneys claim the process could infringe on their First Amendment rights. Las Vegas attorney Bill Turner headed up the state bar committee that made the advertising recommendations. Good to have you on our program today. Good to see you again. All right, so the bottom line, Mr. Turner, if I'm a lawyer, what is and what isn't allowed here?
We're talking about transparency, and when we say transparency, we have transparency in securities transactions, we have transparency in accounting, we have transparency hopefully in real estate transactions. We're talking about truth. And when we say that, lawyers certainly can advertise. We have a freedom of speech, commercial freedom of speech. But what they have to do is tell the truth.
Do you think a lot of them weren't?
I would say if you look at the Yellow Page ads, that there are many ads that could be considered to be either creating unreasonable expectations in clients or creating false expectations or, in fact, misleading clients on their rates and their percentages.
The state Supreme Court had to give the final okay to all this stuff. Talk to me about the line in the sand that the Supreme Court's drawn here, do you think?
Well, I think it's the same line in the sand that the Supreme Court of the United States drew. The Supreme Court said that, in fact, one certainly had the right to advertise. That's a freedom to create business entrepreneurship, as long as it's not false or misleading. And that line is a line that the committees that are set up by the court be asked to examine, because you can look at an ad and say, if you see a guy with bags of money promising you $1 million in every case, that's probably creating false expectations. But if you see an ad that says, I won $1 million in a settlement last year, and by the way, I lost a couple in another type of case, where they say the truth about all their results, then the client is fully informed.
Well, do you expect to get sued over this? I mean, some attorneys, the ACLU is making rumblings that this could infringe on First Amendment rights. I mean, do you think you're going to get sued on this?
Well, let me just tell you this. I welcome any lawsuit, because clearly we spent 3 years in this. I would prefer, of course, like anyone else, not litigation in this matter. We spent 3 years. We had a constitutional law professor. We had Dean Morgan from the university. We looked at all the other constitutional issues at the Supreme Court. We've examined the federal courts in the different states, and all of the commission and the Supreme Court felt that these guidelines that we've drawn for lawyers will withstand any constitutional test.
Mr. Chairman, we're out of time. I want to thank you for joining us. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
When In Business Las Vegas comes back, Las Vegas Mayor Oscar Goodman wants an NBA franchise here, but is the casino industry on board? See why one gaming executive is telling the NBA to take its game elsewhere. Plus, Cannery Casino Resort sets its sights on the Boulder Strip.
If you're a mover or shaker in Las Vegas, there's a newscast designed specifically for you. It's called News One, and you'll find it only on Las Vegas One. News One is smart news for the informed viewer. The only newscast for the high rollers of the local business scene in Southern Nevada. If you want to stay number one, watch News One.
Jeff Gillen hosts News One, weeknights at 9 on Cox Channel 19.
Welcome back. I'm Jeff Gillen. Stock prices for several top gaming companies rebounded in April. Research firm Applied Analysis reports Wynn Resorts led all gainers, up 6.5%. WMS Industries and Boyd Gaming also posted strong increases. Slot maker International Game Technology recorded the only loss of the companies, with stock prices falling 1%. Bally Technologies and Station Casinos reported the smallest gains. Las Vegas Sands profits fell in the first quarter. The company reports a net income of nearly $91 million, a drop of 25% from $122 million last year. Sands executives blame the lower numbers on increased expenses to open casinos in Macau, Singapore, and here in the United States. The parent company of the Riviera Casino doubled its earnings in the first quarter. Riviera Holdings reports a net income of $2.6 million, doubling its first quarter 2006 earnings. Executives attribute the profit to increased room revenue and a new line of slot machines at the Riviera and at the company's casino in Black Hawk, Colorado. MGM Mirage's profits rose in the first quarter but failed to meet Wall Street expectations. The gaming giant reports a net income of $168 million, an increase of about 17% from last year. MGM Mirage President Terry Lanny blames the numbers on people in town for the NBA All-Star Game, telling the Associated Press, quote, the gangbangers and others who came for purposes other than attending the game, they weren't very good for Las Vegas, end quote. He went on to say then that NBA Commissioner David Stern, quote, can keep his basketball franchises out of Las Vegas as far as I'm concerned, end quote. Las Vegas Mayor Oscar Goodman could not be reached for comment. The mayor, though, is speaking out against the developer of Neonopolis. Rohit Joshi says he wants to rename the struggling downtown development as Fremont Square. Joshi says the current name is not drawing in new business. But in this week's Q&A, Mayor Goodman says Joshi's to blame.
Neonopolis, to me, is probably the most disturbing project. I refer to it as the albatross around my neck. We're dealing with folks who really haven't added anything. If anything, they've detracted from what we're trying to accomplish in the downtown. When this group bought it, at least it had some tenants. Now we're talking about the movie theater in there, a jeweler, Mr. Prado, and Jillian's. Everybody else has been asked to leave, and That's a shame.
Read the Q&A with Mayor Goodman in this week's print edition of In Business Las Vegas. The Gold Spike Casino is for sale for a cool $15 million. Tamaris Las Vegas Properties says it is offering to sell the property so it can focus on its other downtown properties. Tamaris also owns the Plaza, the Las Vegas Club, the Western, and the Nevada Club. The company bought the Gold Spike back in 2004. Las Vegas-based carrier Allegiant Airlines boosted its profit in the first quarter. The airline reports a net income of $9.7 million, a 43% improvement from 2006. Allegiant added 3 destinations and 9 new routes during the first quarter. Allegiant's passenger traffic grew in April. The carrier served more than 265,000 passengers, up 55% from last year. Passenger traffic at McCarran grew in March. 4.2 million people passed through the airport. That's an increase of 3.5% from last year. Through May 1st, the airport has hosted more than 11 million passengers. That's up 4% from the same time last year. The Nevada Palace on Boulder Highway is giving way to a new identity. The property is set to become the Eastside Cannery Casino. Crews broke ground on the $250 million project this week. This, by the way, is video courtesy of Preferred Public Relations. The Eastside Cannery will feature a 307-room hotel tower, a 65,000 square foot casino, and 20,000 square feet of convention space. It is set to open next summer. The Eastside Cannery is the first large-scale casino project on Boulder Highway in 13 years. It's the second Las Vegas Cannery casino for co-owners Bill Wortman and Bill Paulos. Both say they want to expand their brand throughout the valley. So what else is on the drawing board? Joining me now to talk about that is Cannery Casino Resorts co-owner Bill Wortman. Welcome. Good to have you on the program. Thanks for joining us. So let me ask you this before I try to get you to divulge your expansion plans to me here. How do you carve out a locals niche in this market when you got giants like Station Casinos out there? What's your secret?
Well, obviously, Stations is very, very good at what they do. So what we try to do is we try to do things Stations doesn't do. We try to make sure we attract ourselves to our customers. We service our customers in a very, very special way. We try to make it a very comfortable location for our customers to go to. We're not nearly as large as some of the Stations property, in fact most of the Stations properties. So we have more of an atmosphere that I think customers go to, and they feel comfortable, they can find the way out.
One of the things with Nevada Palace, which I think opened in like 1977, was like a comfortable slipper for a lot of customers.
That's right.
They go and they love it. Do you worry that in the changeover you could lose some of your old customer base here?
You know, I don't, and I don't worry because our employee base is going to remain. In what we've decided to do, and I think it's because it's the right thing to do, is we're going to build a new facility behind the Nevada Palace, keeping all those employees employed. You know, oftentimes you see the implosions, but we don't talk about the human cost of that, the people that have worked there a long period of time. A very large portion of our workforce at Nevada Palace has been there for years, for 10 years and longer, and it's going to take 16 months to build a new property, and we want to keep them employed.
Real quick, your expansion plans, what is next for you after this?
Well, we're opening a property in Pennsylvania, as you know. We are looking at 2 other locations in the valley. You know, ideally, we would have an east side, a west side, a north side, a south side cannery, and maybe something in the middle.
That's what we'll be looking for. Mr. Wortman, we're out of time. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
When In Business Las Vegas returns, one man takes the debate over eminent domain to the big screen. And later, the best small business owners in the Valley win kudos from In Business Las Vegas. Welcome back. Construction is underway in a new mixed-use project in Centennial Hills. Blue Marble Development broke ground this week on Paxton Walk. That's a $200 million community on 31 acres of land at Centennial Parkway in Tenaya Way. Paxton Walk will include 782 townhomes and condos. It will also feature restaurants and office space. Blue Marble's president says the decision to bring Paxton Walk to Centennial Hills came easy.
The Northwest is one of the fastest growing, most exciting places in the city of Las Vegas. There's so much being developed out here with the Centennial Hill Hospital, the Great Mall of Vegas is being planned for here. There's a lot of activity, a lot of recreation, and we felt like this was the place to build a multifamily project.
Paxton Walk will open in phases, with the first phase coming online in early 2008. A new documentary making the film festival circuit takes a very hard look at eminent domain and instances of abuse by local government. Begging for Billionaires is the culmination of 8 years of work. And joining me right now is filmmaker Philip Klein. Mr. Klein, welcome. Thanks for coming in. So how does your film actually tackle this issue?
Well, what it does, it covers issues that affect America, of eminent domain, and what really is hard about it is how it affects people stealing their homes, their businesses, all for large developers and Fortune 500 companies who basically steal the property so they can benefit.
And you focus on particular instances of this happening?
Yes. What we've done is that we took 8 years and we followed 2 family businesses who basically are trying to survive the threat of eminent domain and actually go through eminent domain, and basically it hurting their business at the end.
Right. Obviously, as you well know, it was that 2005 U.S. Supreme Court decision in the Kelo case out of Connecticut that released eminent domain into the national spotlight. How often do you think eminent domain is abused by local governments?
Well, it's what we found out, that eminent domain basically happening in every state, and one thing we do cover is Kelo. We actually look at the Kelo case and the effects of Kelo in the documentary, and we also look what has happened in other states and how does it affect people's property and property rights.
Do you have a sense, because after Kelo, a lot of state and local governments passed laws restricting the use of eminent domain, especially when you give property over to a private developer. I mean, do you think that the tide is turning against? Are you sensing that the pendulum is swinging away now?
I think it's swinging away. I think Virginia just passed an good eminent domain law that protects people's properties, and quite a few states, by the Institute of Justice, has basically helped pass these laws. So, unfortunately, I wish the Supreme Court did the right thing, which they didn't. But there's still quite a few abuse going on, in Missouri especially, in other cities where they're still taking people's property.
Interesting film. We want to thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Good to have you. A measure designed to protect real estate investors may need a rewrite. The collapse of a Henderson-based qualified intermediary this year prompted lawmakers to impose regulations on the industry. Lawmakers passed a bill requiring the companies to obtain $1 million fidelity bonds, but it allows the Financial Institutions Commissioner to grant exemptions. An amendment now appears likely. Current state law requires the companies to post a $50,000 bond. Some $95 million in investor money is missing from the Henderson-based Southwest 1031 exchange. And when in business, Las Vegas returns, a local tavern owner cites the First Amendment as the health district takes steps to stamp out smoking. Plus, goodbye Celine, hello Bet. Caesars Palace signs a divine deal. A legal showdown is brewing between the Southern Nevada Health District and the owner of Bilbo's Tavern over the voter-approved smoking ban. In its first lawsuit since voters passed the Nevada Clean Indoor Air Act, the Health District is suing Bilbo's for failing to follow the law. The Health District says Bilbo's is continuing to serve food while providing customers with matches and ashtrays. The Nevada Clean Indoor Air Act prohibits smoking and smoking paraphernalia in all restaurants and in bars that serve food.
It's a restaurant. It serves food. It's required to be non-smoking. The business's obligation is to remove all ashtrays and other smoking paraphernalia.
We have always taken the position that the ashtrays were a privileged matter from our standpoint because it's our method of advertising.
Bilbo's attorney Bob Piccoli says forcing the bar to remove the ashtrays and matches would violate the First Amendment. A court date is set for June 6th. The Southern Nevada Health District says it has received more than 2,000 complaints since the smoking ban took effect last year. The Health District is now sending inspectors to those taverns receiving the most complaints. Channel 8 I-Team reporter Colleen McCarty with that story.
Get my location shot.
Though a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Okay, here we go.
The story behind these shots can be summed up in one: smoking.
We've got like a 15-second window to do a count of who's smoking and maybe try to get a photograph.
Mark Gillespie and Paul Klaus with the Southern Nevada Health District troll local bars in search of smokers and other violations of the Nevada Clean Indoor Air Act.
We just go in and look for the evidence, and that's it.
The smoking ban makes it illegal to light up anywhere food is served and requires bars post no smoking signs and remove all matches and ashtrays.
Okay, do you gentlemen know that this is a no smoking establishment?
Yet in bar after bar, cups of all shapes and sizes double as something other than a drink holder.
It's interesting how much time is spent trying to circumvent the law.
Working from a short list of top complaint getters, Gillespie and Klaus target Brando's on Industrial.
Okay, game on.
Our cameras catch a smoker at the bar, but he hides the cigarette when Gillespie and Klaus enter the room.
Do you tell your patrons that this is no smoking, they can't smoke in here?
Yeah, they all know it.
Do you ask them not to smoke in here or tell them to go outside?
Well, I can't tackle them when they can go outside.
Despite the bartender's reluctance to enforce the law, this time,
luck of the draw would have it.
Brando's is in the clear. Some 6 months into the smoking ban, and the bars that still serve food can really be broken down into 3 categories. There are the bars that really don't allow smoking, bars that allow smoking but try to pretend like they don't, and then there are the bars that allow smoking and openly take issue with the ban. Places like Oasis on Decatur.
With the Southern Nevada Health District, had a lot of complaints on smoking going on in here.
Gillespie and Klaus questioned the owner about matches and makeshift ashtrays on the bar.
Do you tell people they can't smoke?
No, we're not supposed to police it. I mean, that's your job, isn't it?
Conversations like these
He just wanted to argue.
make the unofficial smoking police nostalgic for their regular responsibilities.
I can understand their position somewhat, how they feel about it, but it's the will of the people. That's what they voted on, and we've been tasked to carry that out, as unpleasant it may be.
So Gillespie and Klaus take a snapshot in time.
Time to get my I was here photo.
Until the picture shows something other than smoking.
Hopefully and eventually this will work out and everyone will get on board with this and get over it, and we can move on.
And that is Colleen McCarty reporting. In Business Las Vegas honored 11 local businesses and business leaders this week at the 2007 Small Business Awards. Casa Don Juan Mexican restaurant consultant Linda Branch and Moms in Business founder Gina Robinson Billups were among those receiving awards. In Business Las Vegas publisher Bruce Spottelson says the event is a good way to applaud the efforts of those in the local business community.
So it points out who's doing things right. And that's kind of important to establish those role models and give other people inspiration. And when people are doing things right and you recognize them, they tend to keep doing them.
In Business Las Vegas is published by the Greenspun Media Group. The Greenspuns are also co-owners of this cable channel. Finally, the Divine Miss M is coming to Las Vegas. Bette Midler will replace Celine Dion at the Coliseum at Caesars Palace when Dion wraps up her show later this year. Midler has agreed to work 100 performances a year for the next 2 years. Her show opens next February 20th. Coming up next week right here on In Business Las Vegas, with HMO costs on the rise, many employers are struggling to provide their workers health care. In Business talks with one insurance brokerage about other options businesses can take advantage of. That's next week. Read about many of the stories from today's program and much more by subscribing to our print publication. Log on to InBusinessLasVegas.com. That's our program for this week. I'm Jeff Gillen, here each week on In Business and each night on News 1 at 9. Thank you for watching.